Alright, so I know no one's watching yet, but I'm going to start my Friday live drive. And today's topic is universal healthcare. Yes or no? I say yes. I think universal healthcare in the United States should be no-brainer. There really isn't anything logical that you can say against universal healthcare. And anything that you can come up with as a negative, it's not really a negative. It's a perception, and it's something that has been manipulated in the media. It has been manipulated in certain circles. Certain political parties have manipulated and put out the idea that universal health care for everyone is bad, which it's not. It's not. And there's 1,000 reasons why it's not. And there's many examples around the world why it is not bad. And one of them, that cost, the return on investment as a whole country, it's a great investment into people's health. Healthy people are more productive. Healthy people are happier. Healthy people are willing to go above and beyond. If your biggest worry is that you need to stay healthy or keep a job to stay healthy, to keep insurance, then you may never advance to a better career, because you might be content with what you're doing because of your health benefits. Maybe that's one reason why you're now going from one job to another. I mean, we all want to explore our potential in the world. And how are you going to do that if you're stuck in one job that has maybe some good healthcare benefits, which there really isn't such thing anymore as good healthcare benefits. I mean, sure, maybe the executives in large companies get good healthcare benefits, but not the rest of us. Nothing that's affordable. So there have been many studies done around for the last 20 years to kind of equate and see the value of universal healthcare versus the system that we currently have, which is predominantly private insurance. And every study has pointed out the same conclusion, is that the universal healthcare would save the country a lot of money. Now, the one negative thing that I can think about is that our insurance business, it's run as a very, very hardcore business, and that would take a toll, which I wouldn't mind if the insurance business took a toll, because after all, something's got to give, right? So if we can sacrifice a couple CEOs from an insurance company, and unfortunately maybe some down the line workers as well, we could find them different jobs. I'm sure there's still need for processing information that comes from healthcare, because there's a lot of information, right? We generate a lot of data in healthcare every single day. So people who are right now working with the insurance companies that are, let's say, selling insurance, or if they are just data entry people, or people who are reviewing claims and cases and things like that, they could be doing the same thing for the government, or for whatever the entity the government will select to become a non-profit organization to run the healthcare, which would be another idea. But currently, as the system stands, it's a failure. It's a complete failure. Now, you're gonna find that a bunch of people, and including me, I happen to have pretty good healthcare insurance, and I'm not complaining. For the most part, it's accessible. It's not out of my reach, but that's not true for your average citizen, average American, average participant. There's a new push from the Trump administration to move into what we call high deductible catastrophic plans, and what the proponents of this is that's going to make the premiums affordable. Now, what is a premium, right? Premium is basically a membership that allows you to be part of this club, right? What they don't tell you is that your membership fee, let's say $100 a month, which seems reasonable, right? Only pays you to be in the club. The insurance actually kicks in after you spend about $5,000 to $10,000 of your own money before the insurance kicks in. And if you need a heart transplant and you don't have enough money, you may not get that because the insurance will not kick in until you actually pay some of that money. So for the most people, the catastrophic plan doesn't work. It works maybe for people who are healthy, who are not expecting to get sick. But then again, who expects to be sick? I expect that at some point I'm going to get sick. I don't expect I'm going to be sick tomorrow, but most people don't expect they're going to be sick. They hope they're not going to get sick. But once you get sick, the catastrophic insurance is not good for anything. I mean, you go to the emergency room, you need a CAT scan, it'll cost you a couple $1,000. The ER visit's going to cost you $1,000 at the minimum, maybe $1,500. And maybe you can negotiate a cash price for that, but oh wait, you can't because you have insurance. And once you declare that you have insurance, the hospital legally has to go through the insurance first. And they call up your insurance, and the insurance says, well, Mr. Jones has a $5,000 high deductible. So, you can charge $6,000 for the visit to ER. We will pay $1,000 after he covers his $5,000 bill. So what do you do then? I mean, $5,000 is a lot. There was an interesting program that showed how healthcare is administered in China, right? And most people are like, well, China's a third world country. You think that. It's not. I mean, you go to a hospital, you sign in, they have universal health care, an MRI will run you $75, maybe $100, right? So even at that price, that's a relatively high price for China, right? Equivalent. But they can afford to do MRIs for $75, while here, maybe you go to an outpatient center, maybe they'll charge you $750 for an MRI. You go to a hospital, a couple $1,000s for an MRI. Somehow China has figured out they got 1 billion people. I mean, all the European countries, they have universal healthcare. They figured it out. You don't pay thousands and thousands of dollars for a visit to the emergency room. Most emergency room visits are covered at no cost. It's an emergency. That's what insurance is for. And all these countries do not have, 14 different insurance companies led by 14 highly paid CEOs that, take out $1 billion out of the equation because that's what the money that they get. They hoard that money for themselves in terms of compensation, stocks, bonuses, or whatever else they receive. And that's just the CEO, right? You have the vice presidents, you have other people that essentially are there as a money-sucking machine. They're not really contributing in any foundational way into the insurance process, into the prosperity. They just suck money out of the insurance. We only really need one person to administer insurance and then hire a bunch of other people underneath him for each region. You could have one whole person and one per state. And then you don't have to have all this other stuff. But it's what we're looking at. Well, let's see. Well, it looks like I'm talking to myself at the moment because everybody left, but at least in the voting scheme here, it looks like we have 64% says yes, and about 36% say no, which is, I think, right along the ideological political lines right now. The poll is reflecting that because every question I ask that has to do with whatever the polarized topic is of the day or of the week, it's the same 60-30 split, or 70-30 split, I should say. But if you're joining me, hop in, vote. You don't have to stick around, just vote. Let me know. I'm curious about where you stand. with universal health care. Like I said, I vote pro universal health care, and it would benefit everyone. I mean, we're already paying more money you're already paying more money in your premiums and deductibles than you would actually if you were to be taxed on universal health care. That's a fact. I mean, most premiums run between $3,000 and $5,000 a year, and then most deductibles are between $3,000 and $4,000 a year. That's we're not talking about the catastrophic plans. We're talking about regular plans. So right there, you've racked up, $6,000-$7,000 a year. So if you're making $100,000 a year, that's 7% of your income, right? So you're already paying 7% of your income for healthcare. Now, what about Medicare? Right? Medicare is what? 6%, something like that? I can't remember what it is right now. But it's less than the premium right now. You pay more than you would pay for Medicare. Now, if everybody would pay that tax, then obviously we could lower the effective tax rate for everyone. Enough money to go around. So, but if you're here, stop and vote, say hi. I can't really respond because I'm driving, but once I pull over to a red light, I will look at my comments and reply. But I mean, if you happen to travel, I travel around the world, and there's occasions where I needed healthcare in other countries in the world, and was never denied. That was never made pay God knows how much money. It was always, a few dollars here, a few dollars there for a service. Even medicine-wise, you don't go to a store and you gotta spend a couple $100 on medication. It's like literally a couple dollars at the most, and it is subsidized. It's subsidized by taxpayers. So I would figure that in the United States, imagine this: we have the Congress just increased budget for Homeland Security by $500 billion, right? And with that money, they're buying warehouses to basically put up concentration camps for people they're going to pull off the streets. But yet they cannot take those $500 and build homeless shelters or facilities for the homeless, right? They rather spend $500 million on keeping people hostage, on kidnapping people, on building prisons, than helping out the homeless, which many veterans are homeless, right? Many veterans are homeless. They have been we've known this for decades. There was when I was attending Wayne State University, one of the guys in my class, he was doing a research project, and he actually went down through Detroit, and he asked quite few. I think the survey maybe 100 homeless people out there, and literally almost half of them were veterans of various wars. And so the government has $500 billion to buy warehouses to start up prisons for legal or illegal or whoever else that they don't seem fit for the American public, but they don't have $500 billion to spend on homelessness. Imagine if they use that money for that, right? How much better would we be off, right? Homeless people end up in an emergency room, and their care is completely subsidized by taxpayers, right? Because at the end of the day, the hospital will file with the government to regain the costs that they incurred as a result of taking care of the indigent population. This is a fact. This is not something made up. So whether you like it or not, you already are paying for all the homeless. You're already paying for the uninsured and underinsured. So you're already paying that. And this is why your premiums are the way they are. It's because they're high, because they have to cover that. So yeah, that's what you get. But most of the time, the reason why we are in this boat, because someone will look at another person, and they'll have some sort of a bias, and they'll say, no, you do not deserve health care. Nope, you're whatever, your color or your religion or your political affiliation, nope, you don't deserve health care. Where I think, I don't care who you are, everyone deserves health care. When you come to the hospital, we don't look at you as we don't look at you as white, black, or Asian, Hispanic, or whether you're Muslim, whether you believe in Allah, or whether you pray with the Torah in your hand, or whether you're a Christian, or whether you're a MAGA, or whether you're a liberal. No, we don't look at that. We don't care about that. That's one place where you can say that people don't really care what you are. You're there to receive help. Now, over the years, there have been some studies done. There are certain nations that have been perhaps not treated. And whose fault is that? It's the fault of the healthcare system, absolutely. And it's also the fault of the people who are hiring people in the healthcare system, because if you're one of those people, you need to, in your contract, you should sign that you're going to treat everyone equally. You're blind to every other perspective on life except for their health. But no, we still have few people in healthcare they're going to look at you and they're going to say, well, you know what, you cannot tie your tubes because you're a woman and we want to make sure you're fertile, which is a bunch of, there's a woman who's suing a hospital in Tennessee right now because the doctors told her that they don't want to give her they don't want to perform a tube tying surgery because they want it to remain fertile. Like, it's their decision? No, it's not. It's her body, her decision. So yeah, healthcare is not equal everywhere because the people who are providing healthcare are not equal. They're not equal in mind, thought, and motivation, and it's just really sickening. But for the most part, most healthcare professionals are professional. Biases aside, and they will treat every person the way they're supposed to be treated, like they would treat their own mother. Like I said, I can't say for everyone, but I firmly believe majority of people I work with were those kind of people. So, and I did work with some people who I don't think they should be in the healthcare business, because in the healthcare field, because they're not, they lack the compassion. So anyway, let's see. I can stop here for a second and look at the comments. No, to universal healthcare, we have what it's called. We have that. It's called the VA. VA is not a universal healthcare. That's Veteran Affairs. That's not universal healthcare. That's specifically for veterans. So that's not universal healthcare. MF waste wanting shit for free living of unhealthy. Let's see, S lifestyle. No, that's not what I said. And that's like, again, this is the one comment right here. The wanting free shit. It's not free. We're not talking about free. We're talking about tax. And you pay taxes, you expect that you're going to get something for your taxes. And see, they have health care in Europe. That's because America pays for their national defense. And that's why. No, they're not. That's, I don't know where you get that from. Like, this is what some of those first term MAGA talking points that Trump was trying to bring everybody's expenses or their contributions to NATO way and above beyond what's necessary. So and I say hi to Videos Man TV. What does it say? TV like Videos Man? I don't know. Can't read that, but nope. Again, the talking points. Talking points that I said at the very beginning of my live stream here is that there's these talking points that have been manipulated, altered by the media, particularly by the right-wing media and some of the politicians. And these talking points are flawed and they're not even true. And they don't even make sense. You put up numbers, you put up statistics, they make no sense whatsoever. But yeah, the only people who say no to universal health care are people who actually don't understand what universal health care is all about. They have very little knowledge on that topic, and all their knowledge that they get is from media, the right-wing aligned news, if you want to call it newscasters or news media. So anyway, but it's a beautiful Friday today. It's about 83 degrees where I'm at. It's perfect. Maybe a little too warm already. It's enjoying the cooler days, but it's getting hot again. let's see. Somebody gave me an equation to solve 3. What does it say? 3, is that 3 plus? I can't read from 3 plus 6 times 2. Well, that's 15. So, you should do math correctly. Alright, so someone wants to do math. Alright, 12, 15. So 3 plus 6 times 2, that's 15. So, anyway. Let's see what is our voting tally here. 62% say yes, and 38% say no. I guess the 38% are still listening to I don't know who, but again, I'm quite certain that the poll is along the ideological political lines. That's where it is. I guarantee you the no's are Republican and MAGA, and the yes are everybody else. So that actually gives me hope, because that just means the majority of people are aligned with the values that I also believe in. So that makes me feel better. Or 65-35, even better. So hi Cosmo, and hi let's see, videos, TV like videos men. So your answer to your math question is 15. So if you're still there. But anyway, a sleepy day. What was I saying? Healthcare, yeah. So anyway, again, I am for universal healthcare, because overall it decreases the costs for everybody, and also provides a safety net for everybody. So I think it's a win-win in my book, and I think if only most people were given numbers to look at and opportunity to review the pros and cons, which there isn't too many cons in universal healthcare, then they would be likely to vote for universal healthcare. I think majority of the country does want to have some sort of affordable universal healthcare. I don't think the worst thing that has ever been done is to link healthcare to a job, right? And that was done specifically to try to root out the idea that, that's gonna keep the lazy people motivated and get a job, which ends up kind of actually not working at all, because the lazy people are going to be lazy people no matter what, right? Whether they have a job or not, they're still going to be lazy. And lazy people generally find a way to get around the system because they have the time, because they're lazy, right? So that doesn't work for them. But what it hurts people who lose their job, right? People who are looking to transition from one job to another, and maybe they want to take take a month off between jobs, right? Like, I don't understand, like, why is it so hard for Americans to understand that most of Europe, they have a month or more of paid vacation time. Paid vacation time, right? Like, I don't get, like, there's these people like, well, I work 70 hours a week, I make all this overtime. And like, yeah, you do, but that's all you do. You work your entire life, and then let's say you work as a in construction or as a plumber or something like that. That's gonna take a toll on your body. You work putting 70 hours of work, putting in 70 hours of work every single week. Or if you work in some kind of plant, where you, let's say, an auto plant or something, you're tearing up your body, and you're hopefully saving for the retirement and not buying alligator shoes. Like, I've met some people when I was a younger whippersnapper. They used to work and I worked at Chrysler back then for a little bit, and I watched these people come into work with $600 pair of snake shoes. Like, what would you bring that into an auto place, right? A plant where they manufacture cars. But anyway, the American mentality is that you're going to work, and at some point you'll be rewarded with a retirement. And what you don't realize is that you're putting all this time to basically work, be away from your family, away from your kids and your spouses, and you're going to hurt yourself with a job one day. They're going to replace your ass, and you're not going to be able to maybe get insurance because now you're unemployed. You're going to have to use the governmental benefits. Maybe you apply for disability. It'll take 2 years to get disability. Some good luck. And even if you don't get hurt and you work all the 40 years doing something, your body's going to be worn out. Hopefully you put some money away, and then you're like, well, I'm going to live my life now. No, you're not. You're going to be going from one doctor to another. Believe me, I see this every day. People who regret not spending more time with their families, not spending more time with their friends, who worked their freaking fingers down to the bone, broke their backs, busted their knees and their hips, and all for what? They did double overtime. Yay. Now they can't walk. Right? Hopefully their kids are smarter. They watch their parents get their bodies ripped up into shreds in the whatever field they were in, because they were all gone all the time. Maybe they made better choices, but sometimes this is generational. Sometimes one generation will take another one in, and they'll continue the cycle, and then the only one who's going to be happy and profitable and living their life is a big company owner, right? He's just going to come in, he's going to take 2 weeks vacation every few months, and you're going to hope for 2 weeks vacation for a whole year. And even then, they'll be like, well, if you stay, we'll pay you extra bonus if you stay, this year. You don't want to go on vacation, you can get a bonus. And then what? You hurt yourself, you're out of insurance, you can't work, waiting on disability. Happens every day. Happens every single day, happens all the time. This is what happens. Because we don't have a universal health care that could help you when you're hurt. That could take over, that could basically provide health care for you when you're between jobs. And people are like, yeah, we don't want universal health care. We want to get hurt on a job. We want to be able to sell our home and move into a little dinky apartment after working for 40 years, because that's what we want. It's like, really? That's what you vote for? I don't know. But it's very reflective of our educational system here in the United States. Is very reflective of culture of me. And if everybody else is raising up their hand to say, how about a little bit for me, they start calling them freeloaders. Yeah, right. But anyway, I want to go. 30 minutes is enough. Thank you for sticking around with me, those of you who did. And thank you for sharing your opinions. Thank you for voting. I still think we're winners here, 65%. So, bye.